microphone on. So are we recording?
We want to do the Pledge of Allegiance and get us started?
Yes, yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay,
I know everybody's anxious.
okay. We're starting the meeting,
We're going to start
fellas.
with the Pledge of Allegiance, and
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
well, thank you all for coming. If you can, turn your mics on, so that way,
Hard to hear people like me.
that and also for the stream, we're being streamed right now, so that way people can listen in if they need, if they are coming in, and if not, they can listen later on. And so we have with us Bob Church, the county engineer, and I think that would be our first item, just to be respectful of your time, Bob, and so we're going to give you the floor.
Yeah, I didn't really come prepared with any
Well, that's
specific thing, but
Or-
just sort of recap what the county's done. Obviously, we've resurfaced Pittsburgh Avenue, installed the bike lanes along there last year. Beach Avenue, it's resurfaced. We're in the process now of doing the final striping. That should be done by May 14th. And we're currently resurfacing Lafayette Street. The idea is to have that done prior to Memorial Day. It'll be weather dependent. It'll definitely be paved. Whether all the striping will be done, we'll have to see. It just depends upon the weather. On that particular project, there is also some decorative epoxy brick paver treatments for the crosswalks at Ocean, Decatur, and up at Jackson Street, and also from Jackson to Perry in that sort of historic district area by the mall. So that's, I'm not sure when that's going to be scheduled. We're hoping to get that all done before Memorial Day as well. That's also weather dependent. We're actually having a field meeting tomorrow with the subcontractor on that. So that's sort of where we stand with the projects in Cape May. We have a little bit of utility work we have to do out on Texas Avenue. That was an emergency condition that came up, I guess it was in February. The city had a sewer line that had to be replaced. Our drainage line was just above that, so that got impacted. So we are going to be doing some work on about 200 feet of that line and trying to get a schedule on that, but the idea is to get that done also before Memorial Day. If not, we would complete it sometime during the first or second week in June. So that's basically where we're at with projects.
Did I hear you right saying that the striping on Beach Avenue for bike lanes and Continental crosswalks would be done by May 14th?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great.
Actually, it'll probably be done before that. That was the date that they told me, because I had asked, that's when contractually they're supposed to be out of there. I had asked them if they needed, a few days extension, and they were very confident that they didn't. So it looks like they should be cleaned up with that probably by Monday. So.
Yeah, I just drove down, just to, quickly see how far along they got. I went down, I believe it was Congress, and turned left down to Madison, and everything's done there completely. Bike lanes, I'm amazed, are in most places it's just from Ocean to not that far down. The road's way too narrow for a bike lane, but it picks up again before Madison,
Yeah.
right at Madison.
Yeah, we were able to get dedicated bike lanes on most of the road. The areas where we don't, they have to put the chevrons in, and
Yeah.
they started with the advanced marking, the lane text and stuff.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
they got a crew out there today doing thermo work, so they're fairly quick when they set up. So I don't really have any doubt that they'll be done by Monday.
Okay.
Very good. Sounds great.
Yeah. Now, does that mean on the bike lanes, there will be, I don't know what you call them, but, pictures of the bicycles?
Yeah. So there'll be pictures. And I think there's the picture of a guy on a bike in
Yeah.
the bike lane, and then at locations where we can't put a bike lane and the bikers transition into the active lane. There's the showers that go in. So they haven't put those in yet. Usually they're the last thing
Right.
they do.
But they'll be in the next week or two.
Yeah, that'll be part of the completion of the project. I think there's also bike lane signs that get mounted at the curb line as well, you know, opposite where the signal for the bike guy. So that'll all be done by Monday, I would.
And then the crossings will all be the Continental crossings.
Yeah, the high visibility, yeah. So,
That's great. And I know you had a little conversation here before we got started, but again, just for the record, the speed limits on Lafayette Street and trying to calm that down, what do you see as potential solutions to?
well, right now, the speed limit's 25 through the corridor, so the project that we're doing now includes, I think we narrowed the lanes to 10 feet. That helps because it visually makes the driver feel like they're in a cattle chute, so that should help to some extent. But we have continental crosswalks in there, and we have some, like across the school, we put the drop-off lane in a buffered gore area between the active lane and, you know, the park lanes. We also, part of that project is a right turn lane at St. John's that we added down near the park and everything. So that's in there now. So I think with the markings, I'm not sure off my memory whether we actually put lane text reinforcing the speed limit in the lane to say 25 miles per hour. But if speeding is problematic after the project is finished, that would be the first thing that we can do, which is a relatively quick and inexpensive way. So basically what we've done on other roads where there's been speeding problems is we'll put 25 mile per hour large text in the travel lane, like every 1,000 feet or 800 feet. So if people miss the sign, they're definitely seeing that. You know. Generally, that helps bring better awareness to people. There's some people are just going to ignore the speed limit. But the average person that might sort of be oblivious when they're driving because they're missing a sign, when they see that, it tends to get compliance. So that would be our first thing. And then the other thing that we could consider are speed tables, but that would be something that, you know, would sort of be a last resort. We also have radar feedback signs that are, I believe, part of this project, so it bounces back what your traveling speed is. And then at the, I think at the elementary school, at the main crossing, it's a wider continental crosswalk, and I think there's an RFB that we're putting in, so if a student needs to cross, or a pedestrian, they push the button and it's the flashing crosswalk sign, so that tends to calm traffic too, because people see that in advance when it's flashing. So
I'm sorry, that was at the school, not at Madison.
that's at the school. At Madison, that's our standard, you know, pedestrian push-button assemblies. All that's been upgraded, so it's all ADA accessible, and obviously has the crosswalks and things like that, the countdown meters. So, I mean, everything at that
Right.
intersection is a lot higher visibility. I think we also have backplates on all the traffic signals heads, so, you know, you can see them with the sun glare and stuff. So
Okay.
it's all part of this project.
Let me ask, if there was sentiment on the part, let's say, of us, the bicycle committee and the town, what about speed bumps? I mean, a la what's happening out at Cape May Point there. Is that a county decision, a city
Yeah,
decision?
so we put them in. That was part of a separate traffic safety improvement plan specifically for the boroughs. So there was, we did a median out there, and we did speed tables, some other drainage improvements. We also tightened up radiuses. So that would be something, if there was continued speeding on Lafayette Street and the city felt it was problematic, they could send us a request, and it'd be something we could consider doing as a separate standalone project later on.
Good.
So,
But the process would be something initiated by the city, passed on as a request to the county.
Yes, yes, and we, obviously, we'd like documentation that it actually is a problem with speeding, so that, something from the police, maybe with citations or whatever, to back it up, because
Right.
it is expensive to put them in. The other issue, when you start putting them in, is you still have drainage issues, because, obviously, the speed table's raised up, so sometimes if you have you still have to maintain flow in the curb line. So the speed table needs to terminate at the fog line. Well, on Lafayette Street, it's not wide enough to do that. So what's essentially going to happen is you're going to be running that 3-inch level of asphalt right to the curb, which means we're going to have to replace the curb because you're not going to have enough reveal. And also, if there's water that was running down that curb line, now it's being restricted. So it creates drainage issues in addition to just the speed table.
Yeah.
If it was a wide road, like on Cape Avenue, that already had 5-foot shoulders. So we were pretty much able to terminate the, flare of the speed table on the paved shoulder, so that you could still maintain your flow line. So that's the only issue on Lafayette Street. It depends where those things would be. There is a section where Lafayette Street's wider, and you could terminate it, but I think the other lane's still narrow, you know what I mean? So it would really just we'd have to see what the grading is. If the speed table was going to go in on the high point of the road where the water breaks each way, it's not a problem. But if it's anywhere where the water is continuing to flow to an inlet, that speed table is going to interrupt that flow. So it complicates and makes it a more expensive proposition, so.
But a lot of considerations there.
Yeah, and until you actually start looking at it, you don't realize, you know what I mean? But if it was a road that, like I say, you had 5 or 8 foot wide shoulders, it would not be an issue, because we could terminate the edge of the speed table in the shoulder, and it would not affect
Right.
drainage.
Bob,
Thank
we,
you.
as a committee, have done a fair amount of research with the Madison Avenue Lafayette intersection in mind. Would you mind going through that again? I mean, I was writing, and so what we've done to make that as, of course, that the level of safety awareness in that intersection is probably the highest along Lafayette.
Yeah, so at that intersection, all the traffic signals have been replaced, so that's the first thing. I think they went from an 8-inch signal head to a 12, so it's much more visible. And then there's backplates placed on those signals so you can see them. Even like if it's not a glaring day, it just makes the signal head look bigger, so it gives you more visual awareness. And then all the crosswalks have the pedestrian push buttons, so someone that wants to cross pushes the button. There's also an assembly, pedestrian assembly with the hand, and a countdown, so that you know how much time you have to cross the crosswalk. So all that adds to the safety of it and makes it a much safer condition. We also, as part of the striping, there was a request, because there's a bike, part of the bike network comes up Madison. So we were putting we call them the elephant tracks, which are the little dash lines that sort of guide you into the school driveway as you're coming across that. That's going to be striped as part of this contract. Then there's some other bicycle improvements, markings that are part of that other contract that we have not bid yet, that I think it starts at Pittsburgh Avenue and extends all the way up to Madison. So that'll be captured when that's done. I think it goes through maybe Michigan Street or Michigan Avenue. And then it eventually terminates up on Madison into the school.
Okay.
So, but under this contract, we're doing those markings that sort of guide a bike across that intersection to the school driveway, because there's really nothing there at this point to sort of direct a bike. So.
And you referred to, and I've heard it before, when you have something in the road, the drivers are more likely to see it and observe it. part of the research we've done talked about a green box there. Is that within the realm of possibility?
It is. We have, just to give you some background, like the green boxes, they're a conditionally allowed traffic improvement. In other words, when we do a project, it's guided by the MUTCD, the Manual and Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and those green boxes are referenced as a conditionally permitted thing that you could do in a municipality. But you have to get FHWA approval, federal highway approval to do that. Fortunately, it's a lot of nonsense,
Wow.
paint it green. But fortunately, we have another project that is in design in Wildwood Crest where those boxes were proposed. So we do have that approval. So it would just be a matter of us, doing a contract to put the green boxes in. So
Okay.
if there was a need for it or something that later on the city felt would be advantageous, then we could do that relatively easy because we already have the approval to do it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the users of that intersection being somewhere from K through 6. And so, you can't depend on a kid to push the button.
Yeah,
They're just gonna be riding across that thing, and so anything we can do to make the driver think, man, something's going on here,
Right.
maybe I should slow down.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have the school ahead text that goes on the road now. That's something that's there, but we could put the green boxes in. We're obviously going to have the sharrows put in when that other project comes through. If we've done lane text that says pedestrian crossings ahead. We generally don't do those at signalized intersections because it's already a controlled intersection, but that would be something that we could also do. The other thing we've also done is we put in rumble stripes, which I'm not sure if there's any around here that we've done. When you're going out on Seashore Road over the bridge heading toward the Mitnick School, when we did that project, there's the crosswalk at the base of the bridge.
Yes.
We put rumble stripes in with pedestrian text ahead. That could be something we could do. The problem with that is a lot of people that live there object to the sound. You know what I mean? But that's definitely something that could be considered, or just the lane text itself, pedestrian Xing ahead. There are things that we could do.
Okay, well, thanks. It's good to know you already have approval for that in case that becomes an issue.
Yeah, I think we actually used that to, we did a connection, excuse me, between Seaview Avenue and the former U.S. Coast Guard base for that bike path, and we painted that access green. So we have done it.
It sounds like you're reluctant, though, to use those green boxes unless.
Yeah, it's just not something countywide that we generally do. Like I say, if there's a definite need, we would put it in.
Yeah. I mean, all I can say is that from this committee's view, it's been a passion to have that box put in that location.
Right.
And again, because, most of the safe, what is it called? The safe path to school, safe route to school.
From the
I mean, the
Coast Guard.
kids coming from the Coast Guard are coming down Pennsylvania to Michigan to Madison, which, Madison begins really the tough part of the ride,
Right.
which will have sharrows in the future. But, what we are concerned about is a group of kids getting up to that intersection, and the cars that are wanting to turn right on Lafayette are the problem.
Right.
Clearly, people turning left are not. So the only way, it's clear to those folks that the bicycles are there and really should have the right-of-way, we think is the green box.
Right.
And for them to get, I mean, you're right, there's a button there, they can really walk their bike over, hit the button, and walk across the intersection, but they're not going to do it.
Right.
So that's why,
Yeah,
I mean,
if it's I mean, before this next school year, if it's a problem, we could probably get the box in, you know, before school starts. It's not a major thing for us to do. And with that being a school right there, sort of justified, what we don't want to do, you know, if we start using them at a certain location where it's not necessarily warranted, then it becomes a countywide initiative where we're getting 16 other municipalities asking for stuff that.
they went, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? But I mean, I understand it. With the proximity of the school, it probably is a unique location. It's something that we could probably put in there. So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's our sense, not that we have the data for you, but it's,
Yeah, when I
it is
get done,
the,
I'll
it's
talk
the
to
main
consultant
path.
That did these plans for, you know, Lafayette and Madison, and get their opinion as far as the location and stuff, so we can get that set up. But it's not, like I say, it's not a big cost. It's just, it becomes a big cost if we have to do it
Everywhere.
everywhere. You know what I mean?
Understood.
Yeah, and again, not that this is totally unique, but between the traffic patterns, the lack of parking, so no designated bike lanes on that little section of Madison, and,
Yeah.
you know,
And
the
Madison
real
and
estate
Washington,
agency
too.
right in front
Right,
of
right there.
Madison and not the school. I think it's
Okay.
be appropriate.
Yeah, because I think Madison and Washington is just as dangerous as Madison and Lafayette. That's my take, as far as the kids riding their bikes to school and back. You know,
Yeah, well, but Lafayette, you know, you got people coming into town, that traffic on that road is
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, it's a
Incredible.
corridor, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll have them give us a recommendation as to the location of the box, and, you know, we could probably get something done before
Yeah,
school starts.
I think that we feel pretty strongly about it, but if you can swing it and keep it low-key, if you want us to camouflage it if it's
Nah, I mean,
off-season,
it's- Like I say, it's,
and I think
Great.
there's money, I believe there's also money in the budget of that. Years now.
yeah, the money issue for this isn't, it's not,
Yeah, right, it's not a big deal anyway.
so it's really, I just want to make sure that the box gets put in the appropriate location, because
Sure.
it has to, you know, comply to MUTCD if we did something.
yes, yeah, right,
That's good.
okay.
Does anybody else have any questions for Bob?
Well, I don't know what your level of involvement so far is, but how about the roundabout out there by CVS?
Yeah, so,
Just what's the status of that project,
so
or potential project?
the plans have been pretty much done for 7 or 8 years. The issue was we had to acquire right-of-way in order to do it, and one person wasn't willing to give us the right-of-way, but we sort of worked that out now. It was originally part of I think a TAP grant, but that grant had expired. There's a second round of grants, but the problem is, I think a lot of the other counties in the South Jersey Transportation Planning Organization jurisdiction have already put in projects for it. So we were going to just proceed with that as a non-grant funded project at this point. It would expedite things. So at this point, probably in the fall, we'll be pursuing that to sort of get our easements and get everything in line. There's a possibility it could be a fall of '25 construction project. We would want to start it in the fall because of the traffic and the duration of construction. So that's basically where that stands at this point. So we haven't abandoned it. We actually put it on hold for a while because there really wasn't any resolution with the right-of-way issue, but that has been resolved now. As far as what we can provide that property owner and what he was willing to do, we do have to go back through the appraisal process for that, so there's going to be payments to the people that were taking property on, which we did all that, I guess, like 4 years ago, until we got to that roadblock with the one property, and then it just sort of blew everything up. So we still have to go back through that process and get new appraisals and stuff, so it's going to take some time. So that's what I'm saying. We probably won't be actually doing the project until the fall of '25. But it'll be something over this winter that we prioritize and get back up to speed, so.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good. George, you have any questions about that?
No, I was pretty up to speed on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
So basically, I think we sent plans of that roundabout over to, nothing really has changed as far as the layout of the roundabout. I think we were doing some expanded shoulder parking area for the lumber company as a result, but it didn't have any impact on the actual layout of that roundabout that was already submitted years ago. So from that perspective, I mean, we're, ahead of the game because the plans are basically done. It's just all these other lingering issues with right-of-way and easements and appraisals that now have to be taken care of before we can advance the project, so.
since we're talking a lot about striping, when's it appropriate to discuss what striping we would want to run through that roundabout or around that roundabout? Because that's one of the main bike paths, Park Boulevard is one of the main bike paths from the campground back down to the beach. So I would suspect you're going to get a lot of bikers. In fact, if I was them, that's the way I would go, not
Right.
down Broadway. So going around the roundabout and then continuing down Park on the other side of Perry, that's not your road, that's Cape Mays Road.
Right.
We probably would want to stripe that all the way down to the lifeguard station, because that's a straight shot.
Right.
And we're doing a project on Park and Central to put sidewalks in all the way around from Broadway down to Leeming on both sides of the street. So that's going to be a huge project.
Yeah, well, that would tie in with the the Sunset Boulevard shared use path as well, because that project is a separate 10-foot pathway, boardwalk, whatever, from the sunken ship all the way up to Seashore Road. So at that point, they would have to continue across, I guess, go through the roundabout and then down Park,
Right. If they, yeah.
bypass Seashore Road, and then get onto the Seashore Road bike path to head out, toward the canals.
Right.
But yeah, those markings would all have to be coordinated. We'd have a
Okay.
separate striping plan for that, because we actually are in the process of doing a TAP application today. I just submitted it for that project, and that was one of the things we wanted to show was the continuity of that shared use path to all the other bike lanes, including because yours goes down, I guess it's Park.
It is Park. This is
Central,
what we're
right?
talking about, yeah.
Yeah. So that's where that whole thing would tie in, because Seashore Road or Broadway isn't really wide enough.
Right, so that's exactly what I'm saying, because when you hit where Ducky's is in front of the Barrow, I'd like to see the people head down
Correct.
Central and Park where there are bike lanes,
Right.
and then around the roundabout, and then down to Grant
Right.
Street Beach,
Yeah, which is what-
rather than get killed on Broadway.
Right, yeah,
Which
exactly.
is,
Yeah, because our lanes actually stop at that location, but as part of the Sunset Boulevard project, we really should better delineate the bike route at that point to turn.
because that's a tough spot, because
Oh, I know.
once you hit Pacific, you're in stores.
Right.
It's the it's the pizza store,
Right.
so I don't know how you get through that area safely.
Right.
with- yeah.
Yeah, and that was our thought was we would be basically bypassing that whole thing coming around with the bike lane and the continuity to connect it to our stuff, so.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Very good. Anybody else?
No, thank you very much.
All right,
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Appreciate
no problem.
your surprise visit. It was constructive.
Felt bad, I had to cancel out a couple
Let me know,
times.
yeah, let me know if I need to do anything about those trailers.
Yeah.
He keeps asking
Yeah, no, it's, like I say.
for
I'll,
location and thing like that, because we
No, I have
talked
your
to DEQ.
locations, they didn't change.
Yeah, okay, okay.
So when I go back, I'll follow up with Andrew, because I know the trailers, like I say, they were rewired and they're ready to be put out, so I'll just make sure he,
They work unbelievably well. We put one out on Broadway, and I literally can sit on my porch and watch, everybody turns the corner where I don't know, right past the borough, there's a turn on Broadway. They see the flashing thing, and they put the brakes on.
Brakes on,
It's
right.
beautiful.
yeah. But this is for the trucks, right? So.
But it's for everybody. I
Yeah.
mean, normally the people drive down there 35 miles an
Everyone-
hour,
everybody
and
does, yeah.
now everybody slows down.
Yeah, okay.
So we might think about putting maybe
permanent one.
permanent one in each direction,
Yeah.
just past that curve, like
Yeah, we
between
could do
Leeming
that.
and Sixth.
Um,
We could talk about it. I mean, this is not for
Yeah.
this meeting.
But
No,
if you do-
no, it's good. Because
If you
those
do want a
signs,
permanent one, what we normally do is if you pass a resolution and send it to us, because
Right.
it's a cost, obviously.
No, I know.
But that's all I need to sort of validate
Okay.
putting it.
Yeah, since we've gone to the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, a couple of things. When it turns from Seashore to Broadway at Stimson, there's really no delineation. It doesn't say reduce speed ahead. There's no sign that says that. It's just the flashing radar screen, and then there's one 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign just past Stimson. But if I'm new in it, I have no, so maybe we put something up that say reduce speed ahead, 25 miles an hour, because I honestly don't think people have any idea.
Yeah, what we
Yeah.
generally do is we'll put it right on the lane, reduce speed ahead, so that you're driving.
That would be unbelievable, because, yeah, I mean, I just don't think it's super more, and I don't know if we can do it. I mean, obviously, we put signs up. We don't normally put stuff on Broadway, because that's your jurisdiction.
Yeah, it'd be something we would have to do.
Okay, so you want a resolution, a request?
Yeah, give me
formal?
that, and also for the other permanent radar.
Yeah, I
signs.
mean, I think on Broadway with the summer traffic and all those crosswalks, that you guys were out redoing the crosswalk signs. I mean, people walking across the street from the school, people walking across the street to the West Side Market. It's just having them see the sign to slow down before they hit that area would be unbelievable.
Okay,
Yeah, and people would love that.
okay, very good.
great, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank
I'll
you.
definitely put that on our
Okay, yeah.
agenda to get that, a resolution that we would like
Because
those.
we get a lot of those requests from, the general public as well, and that's what we basically ask them, is to go to the municipal body to send us the resolutions. so-
Yeah, and the same thing exists on Sunset, and I know that's all going to be done, but it goes from 40,
Right,
where it's in Lower, then it's 35 at Bay Shore, then it's 25 at Atlantic. So, and there's no delineation except maybe one little sign. I mean, so when we do talk about the striping, I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to do that.
Oh, yeah.
We should think about putting something up more permanent.
Yeah, we wanted to try to reduce the speed limit all the way along that road.
If we could get that to 25, that would be
I
unbelievable.
know that when we are looking at speed tables and stuff as part of that.
On Sunset?
Yeah, as part of that design, so.
Yeah, and Stimson would be another one to look at.
Okay.
All right, thanks, appreciate
All
it.
right, thanks, Bob.
Yeah. Speed tables on Sunset for bikes, because that is a mess.
Yeah.
If I could mention, we have a gentleman here, Mr. Garcia. He was at our city
Yes,
council meeting last night.
I was told by the assistant clerk that you would be here. Would you like to come up and sit at a chair and turn your mic on? That'd be great. Or this one right here. You can come right here.
You know, the reason for having him come in is he had mentioned one particular crossing, pedestrian crossing, that's a concern. What I should have mentioned is actually, it probably, it would be a better meeting for him to attend with the engineering firm next month.
Next month, yeah.
Because they're obviously the ones that are making all the, I don't think I said it last night, but we got a federal grant for $200,000
Okay.
to contract with a firm to, basically for Cape Island. So it's going to involve West Cape May Point, and Cape May. But these guys are coming in to really look at all of our pedestrian and safety, and this is the kind of issue, they're going to analyze most of the island, so it's something that, you know, if you have personal experience with, it would
Well,
be
my
good to
experience.
talk to them.
Yeah. Mike, was everybody there last night, or were all you folks there last night? No, okay.
No.
Well, for the benefit of people who weren't, my main concern is that there's one of the exits to Soldiers and Sailors Park that comes out of the park on the Ocean Street side of the park, and it goes straight across to the John Craig House, I believe it is. And then that one, I never even thought about it until one of my neighbors got hit and severely injured back in September the 3rd, 2021. And she was, you know, a lot of, you know, was a severe injury. She's okay now, I think. But when I looked at it, I really just stood, if you go to that industry, you go to that, maybe you're probably all familiar with it. But when you step out of that exit, think about it, you only got one step and you're in the car lane. There's no buffer zone for a park. You know, most crosswalks, you really are stepping through a parking lane first before you get into the car lane. But this one has no mercy. You know, you are one step and you're in it. So if anybody's distracted, obviously the driver is responsible because there's a crosswalk there. But if anybody's distracted, both sides could prevent it, but that one is really dangerous, I think. And take a look at it when you pass through Soldiers. There's another one on the other side that's the same exact thing, but it really isn't as dangerous because the cars have to turn off Columbia one way. They may have to make a turn to get in there. But the one on crossing to the John Craig House, they've already made a stop at Ocean, come down the block, and if they don't really notice that crosswalk, they've stopped at a crosswalk already at Ocean and Columbia. Now they're coming to this other one, which exits the park, and, you know, you can see maybe they're not going to, and there's nothing there, and usually it's a tight spot, too, so putting a stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk, which probably should have, it's probably going to get run over pretty quickly because it's a tight thing, and there also should be a warning, I think, anyway, for people coming out of the park. Think about it, you know, like almost like a stop sign for the pedestrians. But that's my basic concern. Our house is around the corner from that, and just every time ever since I heard of that accident and I passed through there, I really think about it. You know, somebody could get killed there very easily, and something needs to be done somehow. You know, it's a tricky spot.
Well, interestingly enough, I was on my bike going east on Columbia, came through there, a woman stepped into the crosswalk, and I almost hit her, and I'm on my bike.
Yeah.
Because that's how tight it was. And it shook me, here I am, a member of this committee, and I wasn't watching because there is no warning.
Right.
They're there. Yeah.
Yeah, and the previous monument before the park was built didn't have that problem because it was all blocked, it was totally reconfigured. Now you got that exit, and it's just dangerous.
What's your first name, Mr.
Peter.
Garcia?
Peter, yeah.
Thank you.
And I know one of my other neighbors had made a comment about it to a council meeting after, more recent to after that accident, and I don't think anything's been done. I had tried to call a couple of times, and under the previous administrator for the city.
Mike Ball.
Mike Ball.
Yeah, and it just felt, I kept being persistent, but it didn't go anywhere. And maybe you need like an HPC connection to see what you can do there, but something needs to be done.
Well, what Mike mentioned to you is that we have this consultant group who are going to look at everywhere, and they're very, I think they're very attentive to our comments, too. So
Okay.
we'll certainly tell them next month, and you're welcome to come back if you'd like.
Yeah, we're not always here, but, try to, do you know when it is?
Second Wednesday of the
Second
month.
Wednesday of the month.
Yeah, I think we already have a date, June 10, and, or, let me see here, we have June, second Wednesday is the 15th, that's it.
June 15th, yeah, maybe a problem,
I'm
but,
pretty sure that's it.
You know,
and what time do you have them?
9:30.
I'm sorry, June 12th, June
June
12th.
12th? Okay.
Yeah, second Wednesday.
If we're here, I'll come.
you know, they are gathering, and have gathered historical information on intersections anyway, about accidents and fatalities and
right.
all that. So I'm wondering if they have any historical information over the last 2 or 3 years.
Well, if you look at, there has to be a police report, because there were ambulances and things, 9/3/2021. So, and I don't know, I haven't heard of anything since, but there could be. It's just an accident waiting to happen, that crosswalk, as far as I'm concerned, after hearing what happened to my neighbor, so.
Well, it's a different time now. I'm not sure how long this committee's been together, but it certainly wasn't brought to us before, and this committee can certainly play a role in, if we focus on something, we can get help, it's for sure.
Yes.
And with these engineers coming in, it's an ideal time. They're going to make recommendations for improvements on the island, and then we'll submit for a federal grant to implement. I think there's another 600,000 available to implement all the changes that come up with this plan, so.
Okay. What's your name?
Jeff
Jeff?
Visser,
Jeff?
Visser, Vecere.
Okay. I won't ask anybody else. One name at a time for me is good.
It's all right, I'll be happy to be on the hot seat for that one. That's because I've experienced it myself, so yeah.
Yeah, well, your bicycle, it was that very crosswalk?
Yeah,
You were,
yeah.
okay. You know
Just
exact-
about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, there's somebody here.
yeah.
And,
Okay,
yeah, thank you.
thank you very much, and I'm glad I
Like
stopped
I
by.
said, you don't have to stay the whole meeting, you can just pop in.
Sure, and if we're here on the 12th at 9:30, I'll be here.
That's great.
Okay.
Great. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody, any more old business?
I don't have any.
George? None? New business? I'm sitting here by myself, he walks in, sits down, and I thought he was Mr. Garcia. And of course, he was here before, but I didn't recognize him for some reason. But anyway,
Oh,
just
yeah.
casually sat down and said,
I can't believe he was here.
yeah.
I know. He never shows up when he's supposed to.
No,
I mean,
no.
can you imagine, I mean, we were, there was a lot of talk about not having this meeting, and we,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
the three of
Yeah,
us.
suppose
thought,
we hadn't-
We need to have
Yes.
this meeting, and look who shows up.
Yes, and yes, thank you.
George, thank you for coming. We didn't know you were coming, but,
It's on the schedule.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw the back and forth about, and I think it's important that you meet every month.
oh, yeah.
Well,
And there's,
also-
I mean, obviously, it's an issue, there's a lot of people in this group that don't live here, so that's a problem,
It's a problem.
frankly.
But also,
I'm pretty blunt about that. It's like,
Yeah, I hear you.
and there's a lot of work to be done. If you want to take full advantage of the money that's going to be spent,
Yep,
the work has to get done, or it'll be whoever the most vocal person is, and I hate to tell you, but I'm pretty vocal, so it'll all go to West Cape May. Bob will be happy about that. But, you need to meet.
No, without question, and that was our exact thoughts. I said, look, we gotta have a presence, regardless of what
particularly
the accomplishment.
missing last month, and next month, it's really, the meeting's gonna be taken up by the report for the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, why have a
right,
meeting?
right.
And I made a point of driving east on Pittsburgh and then on Beach, and they're aligning it right
Yep.
as we speak.
Yep, as we speak, yeah.
I mean, so.
They are doing stuff. I can tell you, it took me about an hour to get here from West Cape May today.
I was in West Cape,
I
man.
couldn't, I
Yeah.
couldn't, I had to go all the way around and back up.
Yeah.
Because I was parking in the Acme Plaza. I should have ridden my bike, but I have my dog in the truck, so.
That's why I was late, because I was coming down Washington, and then they had Ocean Street blocked.
Oh, yeah,
I had to flip
I had
around.
to go all the way down the beach and
Exactly,
back
that's
up
what it is.
around.
Yeah.
I got straight here,
Park.
beach to ocean and into.
I didn't do badly, but that's because I went home. I did the cruise down beach. I went home and brought my bike back over because sometimes parking out here is
Should be a rule. If you're in
crazy.
this meeting, you have to ride your bike or walk.
Rode my bike, yeah.
And I just didn't have time today, plus I wanted to do Beach Avenue, not that, I couldn't have done that with a bike, but
Yeah,
it would have been a little,
So the next meeting is the 12th.
the 12.
yeah.
okay.
And I think should be a very important meeting
Yeah,
for us, because those guys will have done a reasonable amount of work before they get here. And, yeah, and if we have very specifics that we're looking for, George, it sounds like you have a lot of ideas of things that you want done, which is, certainly the county's going to be involved in, but not all of it's going to be county. A lot of it's in your town, which
Right.
is
Almost all.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything on Park, which again is the main bikeway from the campground where
Sure.
all the little kids come. And I
They're
try
all
to-
on bikes.
They're all on bikes and they go down Broadway, and I always tell them, you might want to go either down Pacific or Park and go through there. So,
Yeah.
but I certainly don't want to dominate the conversation. I mean, I use Cape May almost as much or more than I do
Yeah.
Yeah.
West Cape May, but, I mean, there's a flow, natural flow to Washington Street Mall, there's a natural flow to the beach, and the question, how can we make it safer
Yeah.
for
Right.
our visitors and our people who live here?
And if they put a roundabout, it'd make it easier getting across there.
That roundabout is going to be great for
You know,
cyclists.
and twice last week, I came into town on my bike, and I live out of town myself, but not far, Cape May Courthouse. I have a home here too, but.
Right.
But anyway, doesn't make, so I'm coming in from the bike path over the West Cape May Bridge, come in, and coming in town. So I go over to Bank, follow the bike sign, and so now you're at Bank and Lafayette. And
You can't go
now,
anywhere.
now it's really dangerous.
You can't get there from here, right?
Unless
Yeah.
I ride over the sidewalk next to Rotary Park.
Rotary Park.
And then I can go.
You're okay.
Legally on the street to.
Decatur then
Yeah.
is okay once
and
you
then I
get
go down
past.
Columbia to
Yeah.
get to my place.
Yeah.
You know,
But
so
not in
it's
your
like-
car.
And almost run over that person in the crosswalk.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Anyway,
It honestly
So-
isn't a bike-friendly town.
Do you think he's putting the green box in or what?
yeah.
It sounds like he,
was,
I think we got to stay after him.
yeah,
that was my
he
question.
said by the start of school, I wrote it down. He said,
Okay, and that's what I
"Thank
thought
you
I
for
heard.
chiming in because he just gave me lip service.
I didn't think, it sounds like they resist it, and now we understand why.
Well, I think
Yeah.
he's afraid because if we does it here.
We
then
do it.
Stone Harbor, he's got to do
Yeah.
it.
But I think the boxes are so perfect. I mean, they stand out, and I believe that everybody will get used to them and understand what they are pretty quickly. But that intersection, I'm sorry, it requires it. And I would agree, there actually should be one on Washington as well. I think that makes sense, because most people are going right
Yes.
out down Washington to get out of town. So a lot of that happens, and the kids are,
You go
They've-
straight through.
yeah, they've got the straight through that they got to do, but one step at a time.
So we heard how much a speed table costs.
That's
That's
stunning.
ridiculous.
Mind-boggling. I can do it for 15 grand.
So we got to go to George.
He intimated that these things weren't that expensive to do, and they have federal permission to do them. So
Yes.
we just have to stay after them.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree. If we don't see that in place in like the middle of August, it's time to, or maybe even beginning of August, it would be time to rev them up again.
I mean,
I will definitely
all
do
the
it.
stuff, like, all the stuff with the construction that's going on now, I assume there were all planning meetings and discussions on what you wanted and how it happens. So I look at that and you're like asking for things now. We have an opportunity on any project that comes up in the next 10 years by putting it on the table now with the county and with this organization so we can get grants to do. If we can map out the whole island and say, there needs to be something there, there needs to be something there, speed tables on this street, we need a sign there.
yeah.
We should have that whole plan mapped out so that if the county wants to do a project, all they do is pull that out and say, we did this. Yeah, this is
Yes,
what they asked for. Is this still valid? It's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, and these radar signs, I mean, listen, the research shows that motorists see them and they slow
They're
down.
the greatest things I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah, and so it's great, and I felt like saying to him about the Madison Lafayette intersection, how much is a kid's life worth?
Yeah,
A little
yeah,
bit of green paint in the box?
yeah, yeah.
We have to wait till it happens?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, let's wait and see. No.
Well, I guess that's what we're doing with the speed table, but I mean, I get that. And it's unfortunate because he said, you guys never said anything about speed tables in the past.
Well, it's time.
Yes, yeah.
It may be the second most,
Evolution of thought.
it's probably the second most email, phone call, talking to people on the street thing that I hear
Yeah.
is speeding.
Yeah.
Yes, it's-
Speeding on,
absolutely.
Speeding on Broadway, speeding on Sunset, speeding on Stimson, they're the main ones. Speeding on Sixth, because it's a cut through to Willow Creek. So all those things, speeding is almost the number one thing I get
Yeah.
for our whole town. And I don't know what they, here
Well-
probably it's not that, but for us it
It's-
is.
Oh, I'm telling you, it is. It was certainly a conversation piece all the time. People talk about they're outraged by the street that they live on and how fast cars are going down the street. And it's not a good feeling because a lot of people have pets and they've got
Grandchildren.
visiting grandchildren.
Children
and,
and,
you know,
Yeah, with this detour going on with the Lafayette stuff, it goes right down my street, Massachusetts. And
Yeah.
normally
Oh.
that's like a drag strip.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wide and people just fly.
Yeah,
down there.
yeah.
And I have been trying to not put my personal interest inject them into this stuff, but my goodness. And now they have a radar sign up there that says the speed limit and
Yeah.
Does Cape May-
you can't miss it.
Does Cape May have a policy about speeding? And this is what if I look at their police report, 163 people get pulled over and 42 get tickets.
Yeah.
Does Cape May have a stated policy that since people are here on vacation, we don't really want to give them tickets because it ruins their experience?
I'm not sure it's a stated
If they
policy.
do, it's not published.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, yes.
and I understand that, but back to the point, do you need somebody to get hurt to really start cracking down on things? And I talk to Deacon all the time, and there's only so many things they can do, but to me, it's like, if you pull somebody over, I understand warnings and all, but if people know they're gonna get a ticket, they're not going to speed.
Right.
And I get it, they're on vacation, I believe me, I completely understand.
Yeah.
Wildwood Crest, you don't speed because you get a
You will get a
Well, you
ticket
see-
every single time.
I don't,
city, you don't speed on
That's-
Fifth Avenue or you get a ticket.
and it's not a bad reputation to have. That's what I don't understand is, well, I do understand. I think that they need to do things the way they think is proper, but I personally don't think there's anything wrong with the reputation of if you speed in this town,
It's a
you are going
deterrent.
you're going to get a ticket.
Well, their priority is to enforce parking. And that's where the money is.
Yeah.
You can probably do that cheaper than you can police and police cars. But still, lives are, to me, more important than money. So I think, I see it's on the police department from an enforcement standpoint, because for the most part, they're not out there.
Well, they actually have been, I mean, since we've had all those, you guys have detoured all your trucks down Broadway, your construction, because nobody comes
Right.
in from the other side, so Broadway gets every single vehicle coming on
And
the
then
island,
for the
and then we got the
manufacturing.
Higbee, so we are like the pass-through town.
Yeah.
Deacon has done a great job with his guys. They are out every single day on Broadway and Sunset, and sometimes Stimson, sometimes Bay Shore. Parts of each day, they are enforcing. And I've seen them pull people over. I mean, I live on Broadway, so I see everything that happens.
They're pulling the truckers over.
They pulled a trucker off because the guy passed somebody on Sunset. And
Well,
so they are doing,
Yeah.
but that is not the normal
No.
operation for them. They don't normally have speed
Right.
work, traps, or I don't know what you want to call it, but they don't normally do that every day, and they have been, and because it's been bad.
Well, it's a one-time thing also.
Right,
And
so-
also, it's, come Memorial Day, I think they're limited to so many trucks a day down the street. I mean, the rules change.
They do whatever they want, it's the DEP.
Yeah.
I went to the public meeting, the first one,
I did
not the
too.
public meeting, I'm sorry, the private meeting for the municipal people. They told me point blank that they would only go down these roads, these were the approved roads. The second meeting we went to, they said, well, we also have the approval to go down Broadway, because they were supposed to go down Stimson, Bay Shore, out, and then up Broadway on the way out. And they said, we can do either, we're approved. I said, well, who approved you?
They approve.
Now, we're limited as a municipality because it's a public road. It's a county, first it's a county road, and like, trucks go by at 5:45 in the morning. And, and until we got the radar thing out on Broadway, they were flying down the street. I mean, it shakes my house, so I'm in witness. People on Sunset have been complaining.
Man, there's some.
Well, what I was told was that the truckers are incentivized.
Yes.
So if they can make 12 trips a day rather than 10, that shows in their paycheck.
Absolutely.
I'm sure they have some kind of contract like
Absolutely.
that. And basically what the AP, the contractor, the head contractor on it basically said was, they basically get a bonus by getting a certain amount of work done by Memorial Day.
Yeah, well, that's.
And so we're gonna do what we
I'm
need to
saying.
do. And it basically,
To hell with the residents.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we all get it. We're all, we've been, this is not our first rodeo in life.
Right. Right.
And I'll be honest, the speeding's worse in the winter than it is in the summer,
Yeah.
because there's traffic.
Yeah.
They can't go anywhere.
Traffic slows you down.
So now, I mean, and that's another reason they don't ticket people. It's the local people that are contractors. Every pickup truck smoking a joint running down Broadway, they should be pulled over,
Yeah.
but they don't do it.
Man.
Yeah, the other transition area that I see all the time is coming off that canal bridge onto Lafayette, 45 to 25 at the bottom of it's 25 at the bottom
It's
of the bridge.
25, yes.
I mean, you gotta slam your brakes on it.
You do, yeah.
To get to 25.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
through there.
What, coming off over the bridge, it's from the other end of town.
Yeah, I mean.
Well,
you-
well, we talked about that before. They need to get rid of the left turn into Lobster House off that road and just extend that little
Yeah.
divider, and that'll eliminate most of the accidents in that spot. We talked to that about the people, because that's what happens. People are stopped making a left turn, and then people are making an illegal left turn out of Lobster House.
Yeah, that's the bad one.
That's the one.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Any other business,
No, I
I
need-
just want to bring up again here, and so I don't bring it up again, but I talked about Park Boulevard and the Atlantic Electric right-of-way that the city uses to get to Public Works, extending the bike path to go through that, and then go down Canning House Lane and tie into the thing, and that would have eliminated all the traffic there by Duckies and stuff, and, that area there that's really tight, and.
That's a
the
good
city-
idea.
you have your mic on, so you can get this recorded?
The city has the right-of-way for, from Atlantic Electric. I've talked to Ronnie Towns, who's with the electric company, and she goes, if you get on city letterhead that they'll allow bicycles to use that lane,
before I tried to do this, and that was back when Joe Bacard was here, and he goes, you can't have cars and bicycles and trucks on the same road. Well, where are they everywhere, you know? But he didn't want them on that road there.
Are you suggesting pave that road?
I'm
It is a
suggesting-
road. I mean,
Yeah,
it's legitimately a road.
Well, it's Atlantic Electric, it runs all the way to the canal. That
You're
road
talking
does.
about past.
If
the-
you go straight on Park
Right,
Boulevard.
but that one section is technically Park Boulevard, and it's a street in West Cape May, up until the water treatment plant. Beyond that, I don't know what it is.
Okay, well, it's Atlantic Electric right-of-way, and it goes all the way to the canal. You can ride your bike on there if it hasn't rained recently. But it would be great if you could get the people away from Duckies and that whole, the park, if you get bicycles off of that, and it would be fantastic. It's already there, you know, it might need might need a layer of asphalt on it.
Well, they've got to work something out because that's gated.
I know it's
When
gated.
you get to the recycling facility, the water plant, both gates are locked, so you can't go out Canning House.
Well, you can ride your bike around the outside of it if you're,
As long as, no, and that would be fine. I mean, even making a path nicer to do it, to get people off of Park would be, get them off Bay Shore,
yeah, off of Broadway there.
Broadway.
But what Cape May has to allow this to happen, because Atlantic Electric has given Cape May the right-of-way there.
Yeah,
So it's got to be something that Cape May puts on letterhead and says, boom, this is okay to do.
Yeah.
So,
So let me make sure I understand what you're saying. At the corner of Central and Park, where
Yeah.
there is a dirt road or whatever it is,
actually, it's got tar on it, so.
that is actually a street. It
Huh?
is on our tax roll, and it actually is a West Cape May street. It's not a Cape May street, but once you get to the water treatment plant, Cape May owns that land. So are you saying turn left on Canning House Lane?
You could, the bike lane,
Right.
for an easy
But
fix,
can you-
could go down to Canning
But
House Lane.
is there a trail that?
There's a trail that goes all the way to the canal.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's what I'm interested in.
From
And-
where? Where does that start?
Canning
From
House
the-
Lane.
On
It used to
Canning
be,
House Lane?
it used to be a railroad track back in 1900, and it came all the way, there was 2 railroad lines that came
George
in.
Dick, how you doing?
Well-
And Deputy Mayor.
That road goes all the way up, it goes past Canning House Lane, and it goes all the way to the canal, and it just goes straight up there, and it stops at the canal, and then there's a road where they put the dredge spoils at the end there, behind Oreo's house,
Oreo, yep.
All right, I'm gonna.
And
Oreo
whose
Way.
road is that?
Atlantic City Electric,
All the way to the canal?
all the way up through Middle Township, all the way
So,
up.
All
just,
the way through the entire county.
Yes,
just for clarification, are we talking about, so if I'm coming out from City Hall, going towards Public Works Building, where that bend
Where the bend is, and-
So we have in the works, there is a project for a water line transmission project, which I believe they're, part of it afterwards is to come in and do some repaving work.
okay.
Out there. I can't speak for Paul. I'm the deputy city manager,
Okay.
Justin. But that's my understanding. I don't know if that's possible because of, like you said, the Atlantic City Electric.
Atlantic City, Ronnie Town said, chief said, get a letter from the city saying that they're on board with it, and they're fine with it, because they've allowed, that's where the bike path in Lower Township, the Cold Spring Bike Path,
Right.
that is along the same right-of-way.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm on it all the time.
So let me, we'll have to get back to you with that. We'll have to talk with Mr. Dietrich and figure out where the water line transmission project is at, and then kind of circle back on it, though,
But that would really save a lot of congestion,
Absolutely.
from the bend area.
yeah,
So,
from
Which
that.
is a mess.
yeah, I mean, we'd have to, like I said, get back to you on it one way or another, so I don't know where the project's at. so.
And it would be a great if you even extended, of course, once you get past the water plant, then you're in Lower Township.
Correct.
But it would be great to tie it into the Garrett Nature Preserve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, part of your ecotourism, you know, for the shoulder seasons.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the suggestion.
No, Bob, it's good. Keep bringing it up. You gotta keep squeaking.
Okay. Sometimes, I don't want to sound like Terry Baldy, who brings up the same
What would
thing.
be
every
You
the
know what? That's a
Well, what would
necessary.
be-
Of course, I'm in the chair.
What would be the next step in making this happen?
I'm going to talk with Mr. Dietrich, city manager and city engineer, and then we'll come back to the committee and see if that's even feasible. So we'd have to do some research to make
Okay.
sure.
Thank you.
I do have the
I think
numbers.
one of the only concerns would be just getting around the water plant.
Actually, the
And
roads
after
are,
that, it's pretty smooth sailing. I mean, I don't know why there'd be any problem with doing it, as long as the security of the water plant remains intact, which
So that's the other,
doesn't look.
Jeff, I
Yeah,
did,
that's-
I
that-
did send you the PowerPoint
You
presentation.
did, thank you.
Okay.
that's the other,
Nice.
that's the other issue that I just wanted to bring up, that also sometimes there are some regulations when you start looking at some major infrastructure, like a water treatment plant and things like that. There's some things that sometimes PD likes to weigh in on and make sure that obviously our infrastructure would be secure
PD?
from out there. Police Department,
Okay, thanks.
you're welcome. Government, we use a lot of
Oh,
acronyms.
yeah, I was in the Navy.
Eh,
Here I've printed out, this is where you go through park entrances,
Yep.
Canning House Lane entrance, and this is where Canning House Lane comes out, and there's a bike path there already. If you wanted to go there, I would love to see it extended all the way to the canal and keep the cars off of Shore Road altogether. But I also have the numbers of the telephone. She asked for the numbers of the phone poles. So I've got those here, and this is what I sent to her, and then she got back to me and said, I need that on city letterhead. And when I asked Jerry Indervoice, 15 minutes after I talked to him about it, he came and said, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that.
Man.
Jif says no. You know, I said, it takes a day to get in touch with Jif not to be able to do it. So,
Well, like I said, let me bring this back to Mr. Dietrich with
Yeah.
that, so that information's
have all that.
helpful, and then, you know, make that next action steps, if it's feasible.
Okay. Justin, what's your last name?
Riggs,
Riggs?
R-I-G-G-S.
He's been running the show now.
Yeah, go ahead. I apologize. Justin Riggs, Deputy City Manager. Mr. Dietrich's out of town, so I'm,
No, it's great that you're here.
Going in.
It's, I'm glad you're,
I'm glad you jumped up.
yeah,
And your first name?
Justin.
Justin.
your mother didn't work for Harvey Strayer, did she?
You know what? I get that all the time when I'm down here, but no, no. I get that all the time. It's funny. Yeah. And then I used to work with a woman whose last name was Riggs, so they used to think that was my aunt. I said, no, no relation. So
It's all right. Hey,
I usually ask, is it good or is it bad? And then I run with it, you know?
yeah, no, it's good. All right.
But I think you guys also covered a lot of the topics. I apologize, I had to step out for a moment. Our paving projects are on schedule, and Mr. Church already spoke about a lot of the county projects that, you know, are ongoing. And I think Councilmember Yeager also spoke about the Safe Routes for All program and working with the Cape Island communities to try to make sure that we're advancing the cause of safe, you know, bicycling throughout the community. So thanks for the work that this committee does.
Oh, thanks, and I almost fell out of my chair when I realized it was Bob Church sitting there.
I still can't get over it. I'm like, what?
I almost grabbed them on the way out.
Yeah. I was 5 minutes late and
I know, right?
Then I finally figured it out after about 5 minutes.
Yeah, so it's great. Well, then, so we will meet on June 12th then.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to call this to adjourn? Motion to adjourn?
Second.